Hi everyone, welcome to Shelf Control. I'm Norm,
I'm Lisa.
and today we're going to be talking about the crew, Quest for Planet 9, and Mission Deep Sea. So the crew Quest for Planet 9 is the first one to come out, and it was hugely popular. And they came out with a sequel, Mission Deep Sea. I picked it up before we went on a trip with my parents to Hawaii, because this sounded like it would be a nice travel game.
Mm-hmm.
And
it would fit on our carry-on.
It's a nice small box.
Because, nowadays no one's checking bags.
And also, it's a cooperative card game, which was appealing as well. I figured we would spend the day doing whatever, doing Hawaii stuff, and then when we came back, we could do a couple scenarios of this, and then call it a day. And so we actually got pretty far through this.
We didn't get to complete it while we were there, and his mother wasn't interested in playing. She's not a co-op person. She is cutthroat. She wants to be able to beat everybody's tails. So it's either one person wins or she's not in it.
There's no reason to play if you can't beat somebody. So it was just we played this 3 players.
But the sweetest woman on the planet. She is pretty cutthroat when it comes to games.
Haven't found a co-op that she enjoyed. So the unique thing with this is it's a trick-taking card game that is cooperative, and this has actually started like a trend of a lot of different trick-taking games and some other cooperative ones out there as well. But this seemed to be the first one that caught everyone's attention and took off. And the way this one works for the Quest for Planet 9, you've got a deck of cards that are
all a mess in the box.
Different colors, different suits. The rockets are your trump cards.
Wild cards.
That can beat any of the other suits. And they're numbered, is it 3 through 9? I don't know that there is.
So. Yeah, 3 is the youngest.
So it's 3.
Is the youngest. 3 is the youngest.
And it's 3 through 9 in different colors, and then 1 through 4 of these rocket cards that can beat any. And you'll be playing through the log book that steps you through difficulties, and it'll give you a number of objective cards, which in the Quest for Planet 9 is just another deck of the numbered cards. And what will happen is everyone, there'll be a certain number of these that go out, and then they'll be divided up amongst the players, and this is the card that they have to be able to win their trick. It doesn't matter if they win with a 3. It doesn't matter if they get this in a yellow trick. Just as long as they win a trick and get this yellow 3, they'll accomplish their goal. And then the next person is going to have to get this yellow 5 in a trick. And then so if there was only these 2 goals, if I completed mine, she completed hers, we were successful, and we would move on to the next one, which might add a third one in.
And it ends right there. That round ends as soon as you meet the objective, and then you move on to the next round. You do have ways to give clues to one another.
You'll have these communication things. You're not allowed to talk to anybody. It'd be way too easy if you could do that. But you do get these communication
and
tokens.
You're not supposed to glare, give looks, give gestures, nothing, which is very difficult for me.
So the way you can communicate is, if the scenario allows it, you can take one card from your hand and place it down in front of you with this token on it. And depending on where you place it, it's telling you giving out the information.
So if you place it at the top, that card is your highest card of that color.
So in this case, I'm saying green 9 is the highest card I have.
So if I'm needing to win a green 8 and he puts that down, I'm going to know, oh, if I happen to have that 8, I don't want to throw it down necessarily, because if that's the only green he has, he'd throw it, and of course he would win that trick. So, but if you put it at the top, that's your highest card of that color in your hand. If you put it at the bottom, that's the lowest card you have of that color in your hand. And if you place it in the middle, it's the only card of that color that you have. So there's 3 things that you can tell your co-workers, your team, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's limitations to what you can tell them. You either tell them it's your highest card, lowest card, or your only card of that color. And then people will take that as they will and play accordingly so that everyone can get their trick.
And they give you just a dead card to put into your hand to remind you, hey, you've got a card out on the table. Don't forget that that's there.
Right, and that card is still playable. So
you can play this at
any time.
At any time. Choosing when and what card to communicate. If you let them know that this is your highest green card, you'd also be sending the message, I have other green cards. Because saying this is my only or my lowest, basically saying the same thing. If 9 is my lowest green card, then I don't have any other green cards too.
So you might as well put it in the middle.
But with other cards, it can be a little bit more obscure.
It is a 1. There's ones.
There is a 1. It's 1 through 9. I happen to pull that one, and
I'm pulling out a 9. Come on, man.
All right,
okay.
so I pull out a 6, and I say that this is my highest. Yellow card is the 6.
So if I need the 9, and let's say there's 3 players, if I need that 9, and I don't have it, I know that the third person does.
You might want to be like, okay, you have to follow with the color that's led unless you don't have any of that color. So I might be like, I've only got 1 pink card, and let people know I've only got 1 pink card. So if you play pink, I can throw that card in, and now if I have that yellow 9 and somebody else needs it, I can be like, okay, you guys, somebody play pink, and I can throw my yellow 9 out there, and then somebody will take that from me.
In playing with his dad on vacation, sometimes we weren't really thinking clearly at the end of the day, and someone would give a clue and the other person just did not pick up on it and threw out something that causes you to lose. So once you lose that round, you're done. You have to basically start over.
There'd be times where I would play out a card and they both would be like, why would you do that? That the answer was obvious, and it's like,
well, the answer is obvious to you because you have the information in your hand.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just threw something out there.
That's the game.
That's the game. You've got different scenarios in here.
Sometimes you can't communicate at all, and whoever has the highest wild card or trump card in their hand. The 4. It's whoever has that 4 rocket is going to be the captain of that round. So they get to go first and go from there. Sometimes the rules say for that particular round you cannot communicate with each other. Sometimes it says it says whoever or the captain can decide who's getting the objectives. So there's all these different scenarios as far as the beginning of the game, as far as what the captain can and can't do. Sometimes the captain can't give any communication, but the other people can. So there's different scenarios for all of them.
There's all kinds of different setups for throwing some wrench in there to make it a little bit more difficult as you're progressing, because it does a really good job of the escalating through here. And there are times that you might get a combination of things that's just with the hands that you're dealt, you just can't do. And in that case, you just gotta throw them back. The Mission Deep Sea is the exact same game. The only difference is in the goal cards that you're given. They've mixed it up some with some of the things. I'll win a 5 green and an 8 blue. So instead of just having the one number, now you've got 2 numbers. Or I will win fewer tricks than anyone else. And so these actually add in some more difficult.
Right.
I will win no number 5 of any color.
So it is the same game, but it's got a bit of more of a challenge to it.
And
a little bit more strategic.
They've added a kind of like a difficulty value on the back depending on the number of players. So this one, whether you're playing a 3, 4, or 5, it's a difficulty level of 1. Where this one here is a difficulty of 3 with 3 players, a difficulty of 2 with 4 and 5. So it's something that's harder with 2 players. I will never win 2 tricks in a row. So that's a little bit harder with 2 players because it's like, okay, I got to win one. Then you got to win at least one before I win another one. And so instead of having a certain number of cards that you'll draw, like in the first game, you'll get a difficulty number, say 9, and then you'll draw cards from the deck, adding up the difficulty level until you reach that, and then reveal them. But then it plays out exactly the same. So, do you want to start talking about what you like about it?
I mean, there's not much to say. It's a simple game. It's something that you can do. It doesn't take a lot of time. There's no end goal. You can play through the book or just play a few different scenarios if you have a little bit of time. So there's no like beginning and end like a board game, like a standard board game. So that's nice when you're limited on time or you're just trying to do something quick. This is even something you can play on the plane. You know, if you're traveling, it's really easy to travel with. So I like that about it. There's not a lot of components. It's very straightforward. So I like that as well. It's not complicated at all.
I like the fact that it's a cooperative trick-taking game. Mm-hmm. Trick-taking games are as old as card games, with bridge and hearts and euchre, spades, all those things, and people get pretty hardcore with those too, and they've got all the strategy down and stuff. I like the fact that this being a cooperative trick-taking game kind of takes some of the pressure off of people who aren't trained trick takers. You know, I've played euchre and hearts and stuff like that before. Never played bridge, but you know, I was never one of those I was always the one where I would play something and then people would be like, how could you play that? That's obviously the wrong card. And I'd be like, I have no idea why that's... I mean, you're telling me that's the wrong card. I just lost us the game, but I have no idea.
Why it's the wrong card.
The fact that like each game session is one hand means I screw up. Fine, we'll shuffle back up and we'll tackle it again, and you know, maybe I learned something from that.
Not likely.
Yeah, if you're not getting points per hand,
and so you can just play through. The goals are super simple to understand, especially in this one. It's like, oh, I need to win the blue 5. Okay, I'm playing this game trying to win the blue 5. And you want the yellow 9, so we're gonna try to get you the yellow 9. All right, I know what the goals are, and then we just have to figure it out.
Figure it out. You figure it out. You figure it out.
Figure it out.
It's on the box. It plays 3 to 5, but it does have an asterisk because it gives you a 2-player variant. And we've played the 2-player variant a few times. It actually makes a third player's hand of some face down cards with some face up cards over it, and whoever is the leader of the expedition that game gets to control that player as if they were sitting at the table with you. And it's perfectly playable that way. It's a little bit easier, because you can see like a whole hand of 7 cards or so out there that are face up. You don't know what their face down ones are, but it's a little bit more information out there, which is neat. It makes the puzzle a little bit easier, but it's totally functional. Once you play one of the face up cards, you take the face down card and flip it up, and then that gives you more information. So now you're like, okay, all right, now that I know that card is that, then that frees up.
It's still just as enjoyable with the 2-player variant.
It's a fun two-player way of doing this cooperative trick taking. I think if you don't like trick taking games, you probably won't like this. If you don't like cooperative games, like my mother, you probably won't like this. She would read a book
choose a book over a co-op game
while we were playing this. And so when we came back from Hawaii, I believe we got this on a Nerds Day haul.
I think it was our first Nerds Day haul.
And so since we were like, we enjoyed this, let's get this and give it a try. And what are your thoughts on this one?
On that one, I think it's pretty much the same. I mean, there's the objectives are a little bit more challenging, but it's the exact same game.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a more advanced version of this, just because of those different objective cards. They might be a little bit more harder to track. Like that one, never get 2 tricks in a row. You need to remember, I need to not take 2 tricks in a row, and other people at the table need to remember that. And so if you do accidentally get 2, to say, oh, I just got 2, or somebody else is like, oh, you just got 2. Where this one's pretty easy. It's like you were supposed to get the blue 5. When the game's over, do you have the blue 5 in front of you? Okay, you do. Then you accomplished it. Where this one is a little bit more tracking.
Right.
The one downside that I had playing this is that variable difficulty level depending on the number of players.
Yeah.
So you'd be playing, it's like, okay, we need a difficulty of 7. So I flip over this and okay, it's a difficulty of 3. This one's a difficulty of 3. So we've got 6. Now we need a difficulty of 1. Okay, well, that one's 2. That one's 2. That one's 3. That one's 2. And so you're flipping over these cards looking for that difficulty level 1. And that seemed
a bit redundant.
That happened so many times where you just flip looking for the one. I could have picked it up and just found a 1 and thrown it out there, and that was a bit of a pain. I didn't mind because the hands are so short when you're playing them, that if you got one of these setups that was like impossible or next to impossible, be like, all right, there was no way to get through this. Let's just put it back, reshuffle, and get new ones. And I wouldn't be against that for this. I also think that this is almost like, if I was going to introduce this game to new players, I'd probably go with this one. I mean, this one is probably not too terribly difficult for people to get their heads around, but this one is just, the concept is so simple. You just get that numbered card and you need that numbered card. And this one adds a little bit more difficulty in here. And there's I looked in the book, there's 50 different difficulty levels that you can play through in here.
Interesting.
And I think we got around 40, if not a little bit over 40, with when we were in Hawaii. So we didn't finish through, but we played quite a few. And that's a lot. And if you're playing with a group of people and you're playing so much that you're going through this, then something like this would be another continuation. I think for us, this is one that I would like definitely introduce people to. This seems like one that if you meet some people while you're out traveling, you might find some heart players, some spades players and things, and be like, okay, well let's sit down and try this. You guys understand the concept of trick taking. Let's try cooperative trick taking, and it'd be real easy for people to pick up. And depending on their skill level, you might want to bump it up to this.
Let's get into rating then.
Let's get into rating.
They're both going to be the same rating for me.
They're both going to be the same rating for me too.
Okay. So on your 1 to 7.
This is still a straight 7 for me.
I agree.
I
mean, there's no way to improve this game.
Trick taking is as old as time, so that mechanism's already been all ironed out, and making it cooperative and throwing in that very limited communication is just the icing on the cake that makes this so good.
Yep, I agree. 7.
So it's a 7. So the 0 to 3
wow factor.
Wow factor.
I'd give it a 1.
A 1 for an 8.
I mean, it's a game that we'll play. Am I going to be jumping to play it every time? No, I'm not. But I'll play it if it's there and someone brings it up.
I am also giving it a 1. But if you really like, I'm not a huge trick taking fan, but I enjoy playing this game. If you were a huge trick taking fan, then I could see this being a much higher rated game and going for the Mission Deep Sea with the crazy variable obstacle cards instead of just the numbered cards.
So do they stay in the collection?
This one does. I say this one does.
I would say this one does.
Well, and that's what I was going to get into. Was like this one you would throw in your backpack when you're going camping.
Yeah, that one's a bit too basic. For my taste, I like the variability of the different objectives in this one. So to me, this is more enjoyable to play.
So
Now, there were some in here that were really challenging and that we really could not get, and so it took us quite a few tries to accomplish the objectives. So I'm not saying that's too easy, because there were some that were quite challenging, but
this one, the objectives were easy and simple to understand. The limitations put by the objectives, by the scenarios themselves, made it difficult.
And sometimes the people you played with.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
This is kind of a weird way to look at it, because we do own both copies. So if I had to choose between the two for which ones we would buy and own, it would be the basic one, because this one is easier to introduce to people as we find people who may or may not be familiar with trick-taking games.
And me being maybe a little bit more selfish, looking at not introducing more people to the game, but playing between us ourselves, this is the one I would go with.
And so, yeah, that's kind of where I am. Like, I am seeing this as an expansion to this. Because you could just take, like, the cards themselves. This one has the colored cards with a space theme. This one has the same colored cards with an undersea theme. You don't necessarily need both of these together. You could take the cards from and logbook from this and throw them into this box, or vice versa, and be like we'll play either the version with the crazy obstacle cards, or we'll play with the simple ones depending on who's there. The tricky bit is they're both really small games. I don't really see the need of taking a few cards out of this and throwing them into this box when this takes up almost the same amount of space as the one box does.
But I also don't see, if we're looking at shelf control, we don't need both games.
Don't we, though?
No, I don't think we do.
Because it's a game and an expansion.
It's not a game and an expansion. How many expansion boxes do we have downstairs that are empty because you've moved them all into the one box?
Irrelevant.
So what are you saying?
I say if that's the one you want to keep for us to introduce people to, then...
I'm not ready to get rid of that.
Well, we did make a decision in the beginning that if one person said get rid of it and the other one said keep it, that we had to keep it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to get rid of either one of these.
Okay.
Just because
I think this is our first disagreement.
this is a nicer box.
This is a nicer box.
This is a sturdier linen finished box, where this is just a flimsy.
Oh yeah.
See?
Oh yeah. But no, well, I guess we're keeping both games because he overrode me.
I guess if you had both and we're going to keep one, this would probably be the one to keep. Just because.
But with him wanting to expand people's minds and experiences with gaming, I understand wanting to go that route. But
Yeah, so this one's for us. This one's for others.
I mean, do we need both games in our collections? No. I mean, do we even need one of them? I mean, no, not really, because it's not one we play often. It is a nice game to take along on a vacation, or if we go camping just to have something to play. So no, it's not a bad game, but there's many other games in our collection that I would want to play over these for sure.
Now, if you don't have either one of these, I think it kind of depends on who you are, which one you would want to get.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Like, if this one never came out, I would be happy with this one forever. Maybe not forever.
Forever?
Darling, forever is a long, long time.
Huh? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what have you done? Have you picked one over the other? Have you combined them both into one box? This is one that won't hit the table as often, but I could see it being pulled out when you're traveling. When you're like, you know what? We're going to be gone for a week. Still want to play some board games, but I'm not putting Twilight Imperium into my carry-on.
It wouldn't fit.
I'm throwing this in.
It wouldn't fit. It's even bigger than the carry-on size.
So yeah, I don't know. I could throw some underwear in the Twilight Imperium box and just use that as my carry-on.
All right. On that note,
So
let us know what your thoughts are on the crew.
that's it. We've talked an awful lot about
These little games.
these little games. Let us know what your thoughts are. And
Give us a like and a subscribe if you like what we're doing, and we'll see what's on the table for next week.
great.
We'll talk to you later. Bye. I never noticed the boxes were different.